Where is anything? Locations, places, positions on the global map are there so that we can navigate where we are on this football called planet Earth. Within the planets we have continents, 7 of which that each contain countries. Inside those countries we have urban and rural areas, and within those we have the most distinct locations. And so today we're going to take a turn to the terrifying, navigate the nefarious, and find out about the frightening, because this is the Lost and Mysterious Locations Iceberg Explained. If you don't know what an iceberg is, don't fret. It's simply a list with more well-known and light-hearted entries on top, and more obscure and dark facts and ideas on the bottom. Having said that, up first we have Stonehenge, one of the world's earliest but greatest mysteries. There are many conspiracy theories about Stonehenge, that it was built by aliens, that it was built by cults, that it's a natural landmark, but none of them explain it for sure, because it's hard to know for sure. During my research, I came to a conclusion that I at least think is the most logical. Built sometime between 2000 and 3000 BC by our Neolithic ancestors, the construction of Stonehenge took place over 3 stages, and most people agree that it was either used as some sort of calendar or perhaps for burial rituals. Whatever the reason, with each passing year, we're closer and closer to uncovering the secrets of Stonehenge. A few years ago, in fact, we discovered DNA evidence that some of the builders of Stonehenge actually originated from Turkey. Whatever the reason, however, the true purpose of Stonehenge is a mystery to this day. A beautiful piece of history. The only problem with it though is that there is a motorway right next to the bloody thing. Like, who put that there? Pompeii. Not the Bastille song, but the city. Otherwise known as the City of the Dead, was lost in 79 AD when its neighbouring Mount Vesuvius erupted. The following pumice and ash would coat the city, encasing its inhabitants and freezing the once great city in time. The Italian city would not be rediscovered for over 1,500 years. Now, due to the inhabitants of Pompeii being encased in ash, we can actually tell a lot about what happened. While many died, some did escape, as many of the bodies found contained gold and jewellery, meaning that those who escaped in time were likely actually able to salvage their valuables. Those who waited for boats died, those who stayed in the city died, even many who tried to get out died. The ones who were not able to escape, the ones that were stuck in the city, were not so lucky and were unfortunately subject to being frozen stiff for thousands of years. We'll move on fast because those are kind of surface levels, but now we're kind of going beneath the waves. Next up we have Snake Island. This is legitimately a thing. Known as the most dangerous island in the world, Snake Island is located just off the coast of Brazil, and it is exactly what it says. It's an island full of snakes. That indeed does include my ex-girlfriend. F*** you, Samantha. Now, the island's actual name is Ilha da Queimada Grande. There is no way I pronounced that correctly, but yeah, this thing is so dangerous that the Brazilian government made going to it illegal. I mean, I don't know who wants to do that in the first place, but it's been made illegal for you to go, so you're not allowed. I guess it won't really matter anyway, because you would die. The place is home to not only a ton of snakes, but some of them are actually the most deadly snakes on the planet. For example, the golden lancehead viper, which kills you within an hour of it biting you. Interestingly enough, people used to live there because there is actually a lighthouse on the island. Legend has it that the owner of the lighthouse and their family never made it off the island and were barricaded inside the lighthouse, terrified that snakes would find their way inside, which eventually they did. Cat Island. I think that most of this video is just going to be about naughty islands, but yeah, Cat Island is exactly what you think it would be. There are less than 100 people living on this island compared to over 120 cats, so the humans are outnumbered. Now, the history behind the island is that it used to raise silkworms for their silk. That used to be their main export. However, raising all these silkworms led to mouse problems. Mo silk, mo problems. So how do you solve that? Well, the inhabitants of Cat Island came up with not only an effective solution, but also a very cute one, and just dropped in a bunch of cats to come live with them. There is a very strict no dogs policy on the island, and it's generally regarded as a very loving island that takes care of its cats. And there's even a professional vet that comes onto the island every 2 months to have a checkup with the cats. The Door to Hell. There's not really too much to say about this one, so I'll make it quick. The Door to Hell is a naturally made gas crater located inside Turkmenistan, and it's called the Door to Hell because just look at it, that thing is the door to hell. It has a diameter of 70 meters and was discovered in 1971. People like to go camping near it. I mean, that's all there really is about it. It's just a really badass crater. Looks evil. I thought that I would include the Hand in the Desert as well because there's not too much of a story behind it, but I think it's pretty damn cool. Mano del Desierto is located in the middle of the Atacama Desert in Chile and is the work of Chilean sculptor Mario Irazabal. Again, there aren't many stories or legends. I just think it's a cool hand. And yeah, North Sentinel Island. This is just one that I love to research because this island really fascinates me. If you've never heard of it, this is a really mental story. So, us humans have come very far. We clawed our way out of the dirt and fought tooth and nail to make it to where we are today as the dominant species on the planet, ever more interconnected and informed. Well, just off the coast of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands lives a tribe of humans that time forgot. They are our most primitive living relatives and are the closest thing that we have to looking at kind of cavemen almost. The outside world has made contact with North Sentinel a few times now, but the island is very unforgiving to outsiders. They do not want to be contacted. Many think that the reason behind this is that the British Empire once tried to take a few of them and ended up accidentally killing an elderly couple due to sickness immunities that the tribe didn't have. For that reason, these days the North Sentinelese generally kill on sight. Aside from this, we don't really know too much about it because it's become illegal to go to the island and the Sentinelese are better off alone. We think that their numbers are dwindling and it's kind of hard to know why, but whatever the reason, it's fascinating to know that somewhere out there is a tribe that never advanced, that have no idea of the modern technologies available to us. They know we're out here, they know we have helicopters and guns, but they have never made the effort to leave their island home. They are the tribe that time forgot. The Tomb of Jesus. So if you don't know the story of Jesus' death and resurrection, he was crucified by the Romans and Jews for a number of things, but the main reason was that he began Christianity. He was buried in a tomb and then 3 days later was resurrected. Some people debate where the tomb was, and some claims are actually very fascinating. Some Japanese actually believe that he fled to Japan and began a new life, marrying a woman in her mid-20s called Miyuko. However, the Taopiot tomb and the Garden tomb are more commonly regarded as ideas of where the tomb was, even though these places are debated. Right now there is no direct answer to where the Tomb of Jesus was, merely just ideas. Blood Falls is a really weird place, and again, as with many of the entries on this iceberg, the clue is in the name. Located in East Antarctica, Blood Falls is an iron oxide tainted plume of salt water. This causes the structure to appear as though it's bleeding. It was discovered in 1911 by the Australian geologist Griffith Taylor, who thought that the falls were red due to red algae, but this was wrong. There really isn't too much else to say about this one. I'm sure if it was located in a place with humans living there, it would be tied to a myth, but since it's found in Antarctica, there really aren't too many stories or legends about it. The Bridge of No Return is located in North Korea, which, by the way, has a spine-tingling name. The Bridge of No Return, that's cool. It connects North and South Korea, and its name derives from prisoners of war who were given a choice to either cross it and go back to their homeland or stay in their country of captivity. The bridge was last used for prisoner exchanges in 1968 when the crew of the USS Pueblo was released and ordered to cross into South Korea via the bridge. The bridge was actively used by North Koreans up until the Korean axe murder incident in August 1976, in which North Korean soldiers killed Captain Arthur Boniface and First Lieutenant Mark Bennett. As of 2003, the bridge is considered in need of repair. According to a report on CNN, the US government has offered to fix the bridge or even replace it, but North Korea has denied permission. Okay, this next one. Have you ever heard of the Island of Dolls? This thing is creepy AF. So the Island of Dolls was named during the 1950s when the owner of the island began to hang them as protection against evil spirits. Originally owned by Don Julian Santana Barrera, the island is home to many legends and myths, but from what I've interpreted, a young girl died in a canal and her body was found on the banks of the Santampa Chinampas. Don Julian placed dolls that he found in the bin or in the canals of Cuemanco with the idea that they would scare the soul of the young girl. He also found a doll floating nearby where the girl was found, and assuming it belonged to the deceased girl, he hung it from a tree as a sign of respect. It's actually one of those ones that, while at first glance is terrifying and thoughtless, it actually has so much more of a deep meaning, and while creepy, yes, it's also kind of a sweet creepy, if you get what I mean. The Man From Taured. This one is a bit of an unsolved mystery in and of itself. If you never heard of Taured, you would be correct. There isn't anywhere in the world called Taured, but in 1954, a man arrived in Haneda Airport in Tokyo, Japan. He told customs that it was his third time in the country and that he was from Taured. Understandably, the customs were confused and they asked him to point to it on the map. He pointed to Andorra, located between France and Spain. This would make sense as the primary language he spoke was French. He was detained by security thinking that he might be a criminal, confiscating his belongings and placing 2 guards on the door. Inside the room, there was one entrance and one exit. What makes this story interesting is that the next morning when they checked on the mystery man, he had disappeared from inside the room, as did his confiscated documents. Some people think that he was from another dimension and accidentally wound up in our world. Others think that he was a time traveller. The other explanation is that it's just a hoax, which it could be, but who knows. Biringan City. So this city is said to be located in the province of Samar, which is a part of the Philippines. Here's the thing though, if you look up on the map for Biringan City, you're not going to find it. And this is because it doesn't exist. Having said this, a small number of people claim to have seen the city. Some seafarers have claimed it a dazzling city of light on moonless nights for a few minutes. And according to folk stories, most of the people who claim to have seen the city have been victims of demon possessions. This city is almost like a spirited away kind of place, at least from what I've interpreted. Now, if you end up in Biringan City, the one thing you cannot do is eat anything they give you. Apparently, if you eat anything, your soul will be trapped inside forever, so do not eat anything and get out immediately. White's Gentleman's Club. So we've spoken about elite groups and clubs on this channel in the past with Bohemian Grove. I think I spoke about that in my Craziest Conspiracy Iceberg, so check that one out. Little to my prior knowledge, the United Kingdom actually has an elite group itself, and it's called White's Gentleman's Club. As the name suggests, it's an all-male exclusive club, except for one notable exception that we'll get into in a minute. Some of the club's more notable members include multiple billionaires, barons, earls and whatnot, but also former Prime Minister David Cameron, who left the group due to it refusing to admit women, and then he rejoined 9 years later. As well as this, both Prince Charles and Prince Philip are also members of the club. The club was established in 1693 by an Italian immigrant named Francesco Bianco as a hot chocolate emporium under the name Mrs. White's Chocolate House. From there, a couple members joined, a couple hundred years went by, and Prince Charles had his stag night there. And then as recently as 2018, these 2 women tried to infiltrate the place, one of them trying to hide in a box. Facilities include a members' dining room, a billiards room, and several rooms including the library and the cards room where members may socialise or hold private dinners. The only female member of the club has been the Queen, who visited it in both 1991 and also 2016. Other than that, there's not too much else known about White's Gentleman's Club because it's the most exclusive club in the United Kingdom, with there only being 40 living members. The Beechy Island Graves. So if you head out to Canada, one of its most northern islands contains 4 graves, and essentially nothing else. These graves belong to John Torrington, William Braine, John Hartnell and Thomas Morgan, of which the first 3 were part of British explorer Sir John Franklin's expedition, commanding an ill-fated search for the Northwest Passage aboard the HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, which is a really, really bad name for a boat. The entire crew would eventually die, including John Franklin. The bodies have been dug up and examined since. There's even footage of them that I'm going to have to blur for obvious reasons, but they were extremely well preserved, oddly enough. I'm going to link a video in the description about the doomed expedition if you're interested, because it's very interesting and I just don't think I'd be able to do it justice, so click on that if you're interested in the story. And finally we have the flowers of Kaffeklubben, which is more of a light-hearted story. Now, Kaffeklubben Island is practically a polar desert, home to some of the most extreme weathers in the world. It would be impossible to live there because it's just so bitterly cold. The hottest it gets in the summer is -6 degrees Celsius or -20 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the hottest it will ever become, right? It's so dangerous to go there that you're not allowed to go unless you're part of a sponsored group. However, despite all of this, despite the atrocious weather that makes life near impossible, life finds a way, and there are small patches of flowers that grow on the island. Life, even in the most desolate areas, against all odds, life finds a way. Okay, and that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel. We just hit 6k the other day, and we'd love to have you as a part of the community. Other than that, follow me on Twitch, Instagram and Twitter, all at FoxAkimbo, and all linked in the description. Send iceberg charts to FoxAkimbo for a chance to be shouted out in a future video. This particular iceberg that I've sampled today comes from Raf Zelaria, so shout out to Raf. Finally, let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see me do next, as I'm only 49 videos in, and I'm already out of ideas. Thank you for watching.